He was only 17 when the world labeled him a monster. News anchors flashed his mugshot across the nation, dark eyes too hollow for a boy his age, a stone-cold expression that masked the scream locked in his throat. Teen charged with brutal slaying of entire family. That headline followed him like a curse for over 2 decades. But behind those cold words was a truth no one cared to explore. Until now. Marcus Bell didn't come from much. Raised in a rusted-out trailer on the outskirts of Fremont County, he was the quiet kid at school, always with a book, always sitting alone. Teachers whispered about his potential. The principal once told a reporter, that boy was going somewhere, until the night everything changed. That night. The night his mother, father, and younger sister were found stabbed to death inside their home. Marcus had fallen asleep in the shed out back after a fight with his dad. He woke to sirens and red and blue lights painting the walls of the only home he ever knew. The sheriff, an old friend of Marcus's father, found Marcus barefoot, shaking, with blood on his shirt. No one asked if he'd tried to help them. No one asked if maybe, just maybe, the blood wasn't his doing. They arrested him on the spot. At trial, the prosecution painted a tale of teen rage turned homicidal. They said he snapped, that he had anger issues, that his fingerprints on the kitchen knife proved everything. The defense? A public defender fresh out of law school, overwhelmed and outmatched. Witnesses were overlooked, DNA evidence mishandled. One neighbor swore she saw a black SUV speed away from the Bell house that night, but no one followed up. It took the jury less than 4 hours to convict him. 22 years passed. Marcus grew up behind bars, the world forgetting him. But someone hadn't. Someone who never believed the story, who kept digging. Her name was Claudia Wells, a freelance investigative journalist and podcaster, who stumbled upon Marcus's case while researching wrongful convictions. She noticed the inconsistencies, the timeline that didn't add up, the sealed files that raised more questions than answers. And then she found it, a forgotten crime scene photo that showed a bloody footprint 2 sizes too large to be Marcus's. Claudia made noise. Her podcast Buried Truths exploded overnight. People started asking questions. How could the lead detective also be the brother-in-law of the prosecutor? Why was the neighbor's testimony excluded from trial? And why, after all these years, did the forensic evidence suggest the involvement of more than one attacker? The state tried to silence her. Threats, legal notices, even a suspicious break-in at her office. But Claudia didn't back down. She brought the case to the Innocence Project. They petitioned for a new trial. Reluctantly, the court agreed. When Marcus walked into the courtroom again, older, grayer, but with fire in his eyes, there was silence. This time, he wasn't alone. Claudia sat in the front row. The courtroom was packed with supporters. And the new defense team? A group of veteran attorneys armed with evidence the original trial had buried. Then came the shocker. The state's star witness, Detective Randall Shaw, cracked under cross-examination. It turned out the initial confession Marcus allegedly made was never recorded. A typed statement appeared out of nowhere, signed by a terrified 17-year-old after 14 hours of interrogation without a lawyer or parent. The blood on his shirt? It wasn't human. It was from a rabbit Marcus had found injured earlier that day. And that SUV the neighbor saw? Linked to a man named Owen Hartley, an enforcer for a now-defunct crime syndicate who disappeared the week after the Bell murders. By the time closing arguments ended, the courtroom buzzed like a live wire. Even the judge's face had changed, from stoic to deeply troubled. The jury deliberated for 36 hours, and then they returned. We find the defendant not guilty. Gasps, cheers, tears. Marcus collapsed into Claudia's arms. After 22 years of chains and concrete walls, he was finally free. The state issued a formal apology, Newspapers ran headlines like "Justice Delayed but Delivered" and "The Boy They Buried Alive." Viewers around the country watched the footage of Marcus walking out of prison, holding his head high. For the first time, justice didn't just whisper, it roared. But as the cameras panned to the courtroom hallway, a shadow moved just out of frame. A figure in a pressed gray suit with a deep scar along his cheek. The same scar described by that neighbor 2 decades ago. Owen Hartley. Turns out, some ghosts don't stay buried. And as Claudia returned to her hotel room that night, she found an envelope slipped under her door. No return address. Inside was a photo of her from earlier that day, scribbled across it in red ink. "You woke the wrong dead." The case may be closed, but the story is far from over. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you believe truth deserves a voice. Drop a comment if you think Marcus's fight for justice was long overdue.